The silent wake of humanity. The stars twinkled softly, stretching across the vast canvas of the galaxy. In the center of it all, the Galactic Council, a body of the most powerful beings in the known universe, sat around a long table, discussing the affairs of the galaxy. For centuries, they had controlled the fate of countless planets, their decisions shaping the very course of history. But in the depths of their discussions, one name was never spoken: Earth. Earth had been erased from the galactic maps. The planet, once teeming with life and brimming with potential, had been destroyed long ago by forces beyond its control. The stories told of a ruthless betrayal, of a species that had once been a force to reckon with, reduced to ashes in a single strike. And so, Earth had faded into nothing more than a whispered memory. But deep within the Council's archives, something strange happened. A faint signal, almost like a whisper on the wind, was detected. It was a distress call, a message unlike any the Council had ever received. The transmission had come from the coordinates where Earth had once been. It was impossible. The planet was gone. The galaxy had seen to it that nothing could survive in its place. The signal was weak, distorted, yet unmistakably clear. It contained a series of encrypted messages, ones that only the most advanced technology could decode. The transmission seemed to contain a warning, but the message was incomplete. The few words that made it through were chilling. Humanity is not extinguished. We return. The Council members looked at one another in disbelief. How could this be? How could Earth, a planet believed to be destroyed, still be sending messages into the vastness of space? The scientists and diplomats of the Council quickly began their work, trying to decipher the transmission, searching for any sign of truth. But the signal continued to cut off, sending bursts of static that seemed to mock their efforts. Earth has been gone for centuries, said one of the senior officials, his voice calm, though with an edge of confusion. This is a relic of a time long past. Perhaps it's a glitch in the system. But others were not so easily convinced. Some of the younger members of the Council, those with a taste for adventure and exploration, were intrigued. They wondered if the message could be real. Could Earth have survived? If so, what had happened to the humans who once called it home? As the debate raged on, a lone officer named Jalen sat quietly in the back of the room, staring at the screen in front of him. He was a quiet man, a technician by trade, but his mind worked in ways others didn't understand. He had always been fascinated by Earth's history, its rise and fall, and the mystery surrounding its destruction. He was the first to suggest they investigate the source of the signal. "We cannot ignore this," Jalen said, standing up. His voice was low but firm. "If there's even a chance that humanity survived, we need to know. We need to find out what's left." The Council was divided. Some argued that it was too risky, that the signal was just an old relic of the past, too distorted to hold any real meaning. Others, like Jalen, believed it was a message they could not afford to ignore. But in the end, the decision was made. The Council ordered a fleet to be dispatched to the last known location of Earth to search for any sign of the planet's survival. They sent out reconnaissance ships, armed with the most advanced scanners, to investigate the area. It was a mission that would take weeks, even months. But the Council was sure that whatever they'd found would be nothing more than the remnants of a long-dead world. However, as the fleet approached the coordinates, something strange occurred. The sensors began to pick up unusual readings, massive energy signatures, something they couldn't quite explain. The fleet's commander, a battle-hardened veteran named Captain Lyra, ordered her ships to move in closer. She was skeptical, but curiosity gnawed at her. Then, just as they neared the planet's last known position, a massive disturbance hit the fleet. A sudden shockwave rocked the ships, sending them spiraling through space. They couldn't understand what was happening. The systems were failing. The once dead region of space was now alive with energy. "Captain, we're being pulled off course," a voice crackled through the ship's intercom. "Something's wrong. We need to pull back." But it was too late. The shockwave passed, and in the distance, something huge and dark emerged from the void. It was a structure, something the fleet had never seen before. A massive ship, its hull covered in scars, floating in space like a forgotten relic. But this was no ordinary ship. It was far too advanced, its technology incomprehensible to the current fleet. This can't be possible, Captain Lyra whispered. There's no way. This is Earth. The moment those words left her mouth, the fleet's scanners went haywire. A new signal flooded their systems, louder, clearer, and more urgent than before. It was the same message from earlier, but now it was accompanied by a chilling new addition. Humanity is back. The Council's arrogance, their belief that Earth was gone forever, had blinded them to the truth. Earth had not been destroyed. It had been waiting. And now, the galaxy would pay the price. The fleet's ships hovered in stunned silence, knowing that they had stumbled upon something far more terrifying than they could ever have imagined. Earth's vengeance was not a thing of the past. It was here, in the present, and it was far from over. As the fleet began to regroup, Captain Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was on the brink of something terrible, and Earth, long thought dead, was about to prove just how deadly it could be. The first strike. The galaxy held its breath. The first signs of Earth's return had been dismissed as a strange anomaly, a malfunctioning relic from the past. But as the fleet hovered in space, staring at the massive, forgotten ship that seemed to pulse with an ancient energy, the truth was undeniable. Something from Earth had survived, and now it was awake. Captain Lyra was the first to speak after a long, stunned silence. "We need to report this immediately," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But as she turned toward her communications officer, her words faltered. The ship's systems were malfunctioning. Static filled the air as the officer frantically tapped at the console. "The signal. It's gone," the officer said, wide-eyed. "We can't contact the fleet. Something's blocking us." For a moment, there was nothing but the eerie silence of space. The fleet's ships were caught in the strange energy that surrounded Earth's forgotten vessel. No one knew what had happened or why it had appeared after all this time. But as Lyra gazed out at the ship, a creeping feeling of dread settled in her chest. The galaxy had made a grave mistake in thinking Earth was gone. Whatever had survived, whatever had remained hidden on that planet, was more than just a memory. And then, without warning, the calm of space shattered. A sudden, powerful blast of energy erupted from the dark shape of the ship. The fleet's ships were rocked by the force, sending waves of panic through the crews. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as the energy blast surged through their shields, overpowering their systems. For a moment, everything went dark. "Captain, we're losing power," a voice shouted over the intercom. "Something's ripping through our systems." The ship shuddered again, and Lyra's eyes widened in realization. The blast had not only struck them, it had spread across the entire region of space, a ripple of raw, devastating power. The fleet's communication systems were completely shut down, their ships now operating blind in a storm of energy. "Get us out of here," Lyra barked. "Full retreat, now." But before they could react, another blast came, this time far more concentrated. The force of it sent the lead ship spinning out of control. The crew fought to regain their footing, but the enemy was already upon them. In the distance, the massive ship from Earth loomed closer, its weapons crackling with energy. This was no ordinary vessel. It was something more, something capable of unimaginable destruction. Captain Lyra stared at the ship, knowing that no fleet in the galaxy could survive its power. The humans had not just returned, they had come back with vengeance, and they weren't here to negotiate. Without warning, the fleet's sensors picked up a strange new reading. A second fleet, identical to the first, emerged from the shadows. This time, the ships were smaller but no less dangerous. They were sleek, stealthy, and fast, darting between the stars with terrifying precision. The fleet quickly realized the truth. The massive ship had only been the beginning. "Captain, they're everywhere," another officer reported, their voice trembling. "The fleet, it's massive." Lyra's mind raced. Earth had been silent for so long, and now it had returned with an army, a force strong enough to wipe out anything in its path. The Council had underestimated them, and now the galaxy would pay the price. Lyra's mind raced. Earth had been silent for so long, and now it had returned with an army, a force strong enough to wipe out anything in its path. The Council had underestimated them, and now the galaxy would pay the price. The attack came swiftly. Earth's ships, sleek and advanced, opened fire on the fleet, their energy weapons cutting through the metal like a hot knife through butter. Entire ships disintegrated before the crew could even react, the energy beams slicing through their hulls. Screams echoed through the comms as the crew of the lead ship fought to hold their ground. Lyra gritted her teeth, gripping the armrest of her chair. She had faced battles before, but nothing like this. The humans had come back, and they were angry. The destruction was systematic, precise. There was no mercy in the strike, just cold, calculated vengeance. "We have to report this," Lyra said, struggling to stay focused as her ship rocked again from another blast. "We need to warn the Council." But as the words left her mouth, she realized the truth. They didn't have time to warn anyone. Earth's fleet had already broken through their defenses. The remaining ships were scattered, their communications disabled. It was every ship for itself. Just as Lyra was about to order the retreat, the situation took another turn for the worse. A large, ominous ship appeared at the edge of the battlefield. It was unlike any ship the galaxy had ever seen. Its design was alien, strange, yet somehow familiar. The humans had crafted something new, something even more terrifying. A transmission crackled through the ship's speaker, and Lyra's blood ran cold. A voice, cold and detached, filled the cabin. "This is Earth," the voice said, its tone unyielding. "We have returned. And now you will learn the cost of your betrayal." The transmission cut out, and the fleet was left in stunned silence. Earth's voice had spoken, and its words rang in their ears. The galaxy had not only underestimated humanity, they had forgotten who they were. And now, the cost would be paid in full. Lyra's thoughts raced as she watched the enemy fleet advance. She had always known the galaxy was dangerous, but nothing prepared her for this. The humans had returned with a fury unlike anything the Council had ever faced. The ships, the technology, the power, it was all beyond their comprehension. As the first wave of Earth's forces advanced, Captain Lyra knew the battle was far from over. The Council had underestimated humanity before, but they would never make that mistake again. The return of the forgotten. The aftermath of the attack was like a nightmare that refused to end. The galactic fleet had been shattered, many ships destroyed, their crews lost to the black void of space. Captain Lyra's ship, the Dawnstar, barely escaped, its hull scarred, its systems barely operational. The communication lines were still down, and they had lost contact with every other fleet that had been in the area. It felt as though Earth's forces had swept through the galaxy like a storm, leaving only ruins in their wake. Lyra stared out at the stars from the bridge of her damaged ship, her mind racing. The Earth fleet had struck with such precision, such speed, that no one had seen it coming. No one had known what they were capable of. And now, they were on the run, scattered and broken. She had no idea what to do next. "We need to warn the Council," Lyra said, breaking the heavy silence that had settled over the bridge. "If Earth can do this to us, they can do it to anyone." But even as she spoke, she knew the situation was worse than it seemed. The transmission from Earth had been chilling, not just in its coldness, but in its message. "We have returned. And now you will learn the cost of your betrayal." The words echoed in her mind, and a sickening realization began to settle in her gut. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were coming for revenge. And it was clear they had been preparing for this moment for far longer than anyone had guessed. Lyra turned to her communications officer, a young woman named Enna. "Can you get a signal to the council?" she asked, her voice strained. Enna worked furiously at the controls, her hands shaking as she tried to re-establish a connection. "I'm trying, Captain, but their defenses are too strong. We're being jammed by some kind of signal." Suddenly, the ship's warning alarms blared. The crew sprang to attention. "What is it?" Lyra demanded. "We're not alone," said one of the officers, pointing to the screen. A dark shadow appeared in the distance, a silhouette against the stars. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She knew what that meant. "Earth's fleet," she murmured. "They found us." Before she could react, the ship shook violently, the tremor of a nearby explosion rocking the Dawnstar. A new ship had arrived, a large, sleek vessel, its design unfamiliar, its energy signature unlike anything Lyra had seen before. It was a perfect match to the ship they had seen near Earth's location, but this one was different. It was faster, deadlier, and appeared to be designed for one purpose: destruction. "We're outmatched," Lyra muttered, her voice barely audible over the sound of alarms. "We need to move now." But as she spoke, the ship's sensors flickered, and a chilling transmission filled the bridge. It was the same cold voice they had heard before, but now it was clearer, more defined. "This is the Remnant, flagship of Earth's vengeance fleet. You are trespassing in our space. Leave now, or be destroyed." The words sent a wave of fear through the crew. Earth had not only returned, it had come prepared. Their technology, their ships, their weapons, they were all beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, and they were making it clear that humanity was no longer the weak, forgotten species they had once been. They were now a power to be reckoned with. "We don't stand a chance against that ship," Enna said, her voice trembling. "We won't know unless we try," Lyra replied. "Full speed ahead, all engines. Take us into the asteroid field. Maybe we can lose them there." The Dawnstar lurched forward, the engines firing up as the ship sped toward the field of rocky debris that littered the far reaches of the system. The crew worked in silence, their eyes wide with fear, knowing that the only thing they could do was outrun their pursuers. The asteroid field would be their last hope, a place where they could lose the Earth fleet, if they were lucky. But luck, it seemed, was not on their side. The Remnant followed them, moving with an eerie, unnatural speed. It didn't hesitate. It didn't miss a beat. It was like the ship could anticipate every move they made. No matter how fast, Lyra pushed the Dawnstar. The Remnant was always one step ahead, closing the gap with terrifying precision. Then, without warning, the asteroid field lit up with bursts of energy as Earth's fleet opened fire. The massive cannons of the Remnant sent blasts of concentrated energy through the asteroid field, vaporizing the rocks in its path. One by one, the asteroids shattered, their pieces scattered like dust. "We're not going to make it," Enna whispered, tears in her eyes. Lyra's jaw clenched. "We have to make it." Just as the Dawnstar veered through the field, narrowly avoiding another explosion, a strange thing happened. The ship's sensors picked up an anomaly. Another signal, faint and distant. It was a distress call, an old one that didn't belong to any known fleet. Lyra glanced at the screen, her heart pounding. The signal was coming from a nearby star system, one that hadn't been explored in centuries. It was a long shot, but it was their only chance. "Prepare for a course change," Lyra ordered. "We're heading for that signal." The crew was in disbelief. "Captain, are you sure? Earth's fleet is right behind us." "We don't have a choice," Lyra replied. "We'll never outrun them. But if there's a chance someone else can help us, we need to take it." With no time to waste, the Dawnstar changed course, heading straight for the unknown signal. As the ship moved farther into uncharted space, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just running from Earth's vengeance. They were running from something else, something far darker and more mysterious than they could ever have imagined. Humanity's voice echoes across the stars. The Dawn Star flew through the uncharted expanse of space, its engines sputtering in protest. Captain Lyra had made the decision to follow the mysterious distress signal, hoping against hope that there was someone, anyone, who could help them fight back against Earth's wrath. The remnant had been relentless, its weapons annihilating anything in its path, but now, in this remote, forgotten corner of the galaxy, they were taking a dangerous gamble. The crew was on edge, their nerves frayed after days of fleeing, their resources dwindling. They could no longer outrun their pursuers, and every passing moment felt like a countdown to their inevitable destruction. Still, Lyra clung to the hope that the signal they were tracking would offer something. The key to understanding Earth's new power, or perhaps even a way to strike back. "We're almost there," Captain Enna said, her fingers tapping nervously against the control panel. She turned to Lyra with an anxious look in her eyes. "Are you sure about this? We don't know what we'll find. It could be a trap." Lyra stood at the front of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the swirling darkness ahead. She had no answers, no certainty, but what choice did they have? Earth had already proven its might, and they were powerless against it. "We don't have a choice," Lyra said quietly. "Either we find out what that signal is, or we die out here. Earth's fleet is already closing in." As the ship neared the origin of the distress signal, the tension in the air became unbearable. The stars seemed to grow colder, their distant light almost mocking in its indifference. A heavy silence settled over the bridge, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's failing systems. The crew waited, uncertain of what they were about to encounter. The signal led them to a desolate system, one that seemed empty at first glance. There were no planets, no asteroids, only the dead, floating remains of a once thriving civilization. The system felt abandoned, its lifelessness almost oppressive. "This is it," Enna said, her voice barely audible. "The signal is coming from that derelict station ahead." Ahead, a large structure loomed, an ancient space station, its outer hull battered and worn by time and neglect. It was like something out of a forgotten era, a relic of a time long past. The station was silent, its once glowing lights now dimmed, its purpose unknown. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. "Prepare to dock," she ordered, though a part of her felt uneasy about what they might find. She had hoped for some sign of help, but this was different. This was a place of death, not rescue. The station, whatever its original purpose had been, was clearly abandoned, its systems long deactivated. As the Dawn Star approached the station, the crew worked quickly to establish a connection. The communication systems flickered to life, crackling with static. Then, a voice broke through, deep and resonant, filled with an eerie calm. "This is the Elysium, flagship of the Galactic Rebirth Order. You have entered restricted space." The voice was not a greeting, nor a warning. It was an accusation, as if they had trespassed on something sacred. Lyra's stomach tightened. Galactic Rebirth Order. She had never heard of such an organization, and she was certain it didn't exist in any known records. Was this an old group of survivors from some forgotten war, or something more dangerous? "We come in peace," Lyra replied, trying to steady her voice. "We are part of the Galactic Fleet, fleeing from Earth's forces. We need help." There was a long pause, and for a moment, Lyra feared the voice had already gone silent. Then, the voice returned, cold and distant, yet strangely knowing. "Earth. It has returned." There was a weight to those words, an unspoken history that made Lyra's blood run cold. "You are not the first to seek refuge here, and you will not be the last. But know this, humanity has been reborn, not as you once knew it, but as something far more dangerous." Lyra's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "Earth is not what you think." The voice interrupted, its tone cutting through the air like ice. "The humans you knew are gone. What remains are not the weak creatures you once underestimated. They have evolved, adapted to the very void of space. They have become something else. They have become gods among you." The message was clear now. Earth had not just survived its fall, it had transcended it. The humans Lyra had once known were no more. What remained were beings of incredible power, reshaped by their own struggles and the endless void of space. The shockwave they had sent through the galaxy was just the beginning of a new order, one where humanity no longer sought to coexist but to dominate. Lyra's mind raced. How had this happened? What had Earth done to its people to turn them into something unrecognizable? And why had they waited so long to reveal themselves? What did they want? The voice spoke again, this time softer, as if it had come to some terrible conclusion. We were the last to know the truth. We thought Earth's survivors were lost. We were wrong. Now we wait in silence for the return of those who will rule. A shiver ran down Lyra's spine as she realized the scope of their situation. Earth wasn't just a force. They were the harbingers of a new galaxy, a galaxy in which the Council and all its power no longer mattered. Humanity had cast off its chains, and they had come back to claim what was theirs. "Who are you?" Lyra demanded, her voice tight with disbelief. "What are you?" "We are the Watchers," the voice replied. "And we have seen this day coming. We were born in the shadow of Earth's fall, and now we wait for what is to come. We will not fight Earth, but we will not aid you. You must face your fate alone." The transmission cut out, leaving nothing but silence behind. Lyra stood frozen, her mind struggling to grasp what had just happened. The crew, too, were shaken. They had sought help, but instead they had found something far darker. Earth's return was no longer a distant threat. It was the dawn of a new era, one that they had no control over. The Council had no power here. Humanity's revenge had only just begun. As the Dawn Star drifted away from the station, Lyra couldn't help but feel the weight of what was happening. The galaxy had been a place of order, of law, of power. But now, the rules had changed. Earth had returned, not just to survive, but to rule. And there was nothing the galaxy could do to stop them. The galaxy shakes. The Dawn Star floated in the vast emptiness of space, far from the familiar confines of the Galactic Council's dominion. Captain Lyra stood at the helm, gazing at the distant stars that seemed to mock her fragile sense of security. The transmission from the Elysium had left her reeling, and every decision now felt like walking on the edge of a knife. Earth was no longer a forgotten planet in the dark corners of the galaxy. It had returned, transformed into something unrecognizable, and the galaxy was about to feel the consequences. "Captain," Enna's voice broke the silence. "We're receiving new data from the station's old archives. It's about Earth and their rise." Lyra turned sharply, her pulse quickening. She had hoped for a clue, anything that could provide a way out. She motioned for Enna to bring up the information. "What does it say?" Lyra asked, though she already feared the answer. Enna scanned through the data, her fingers trembling. It's the history of humanity's evolution. The rise of Earth's new order. They didn't just survive. They embraced the void. They made themselves one with the stars, with the very fabric of space itself. Their leaders, the ones who led them through the collapse, became something else entirely. Transcendent. Immortal. Lyra felt the weight of the words settle around her, suffocating her. Transcendent. You mean they've evolved beyond the need for a physical body? Enna replied, her voice barely above a whisper. They can manipulate energy, bend reality to their will. What we once called humans, they have ascended into a higher form. They are no longer the people who once lived on Earth. They are something ancient. A sickening realization dawned on Lyra. Gods. Enna nodded grimly. Exactly. And they've been preparing for this for centuries. We are nothing to them, a speck in the vastness of their new empire. Captain Lyra clenched her fists. She had fought battles before, but this was different. Earth was no longer a planet to be reclaimed or a people to be defeated. They were now a force of nature, unstoppable, incomprehensible. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared again. The remnant had found them. The massive, sleek ship loomed on the edge of their sensors, cutting through the stars like a predator stalking its prey. "Ready weapons," Lyra commanded, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "We have no choice but to fight back." But deep down, Lyra knew the truth. They were hopelessly outmatched. The Dawnstar had only a fraction of the firepower the remnant possessed, and Earth's fleet wasn't the only force they had to worry about anymore. The new Earth, this transcendent humanity, could reach far beyond any known limits. They were not just fighting a fleet. They were fighting a whole new way of existence. As the remnant moved in, Lyra's mind raced. There had to be a way to fight back. There had to be something in the old records, some weakness they could exploit. She turned to her navigation officer. "Enna, what's the closest safe haven? A place we can regroup and plan?" Enna hesitated. "There's a small cluster of uninhabited planets in the sector just beyond the Solarius Nebula. It's remote, barely on any maps. It might offer us some shelter long enough to strategize." Lyra's mind whirled. The Solarius Nebula was a dangerous, chaotic place, full of radiation storms and unpredictable gravitational fields. It was a place few dared to venture, but that might be what they needed, a place where Earth's advanced ships would be at a disadvantage. "Set course for the nebula," Lyra ordered. "Full speed ahead." The Dawnstar lurched forward, its engines roaring to life as it surged through space. But the remnant was closing in fast. The looming ship unleashed a burst of energy, its weapons flashing like lightning, streaking through the darkness. "Shields at maximum," Lyra shouted, her grip tightening on the controls. The Dawnstar shuddered as the first energy blast hit, but the ship's shields held. Barely. "We're not going to make it," Enna cried, watching the approaching remnant. The energy beams were relentless, and the Dawnstar was too slow, too damaged to escape. But then, in the distance, a flash of light cut through the darkness. It wasn't from the remnant. It was something else, something far more chaotic. "What is that?" Lyra asked, squinting at the screen. The light seemed to pulse, rippling across the stars like waves on the surface of a stormy ocean. And then it grew brighter, growing larger with each passing moment. "Captain, it's the nebula," Enna said in awe. "The radiation storms are triggering. It's starting to shift." Suddenly, the Dawnstar was engulfed in a wave of intense light and electromagnetic energy. The nebula, once a chaotic mess of swirling gases and stars, now seemed alive, its very particles vibrating with cosmic power. The ship's systems faltered under the onslaught, but Lyra held her breath as the remnant hesitated, unable to navigate through the storms as easily as the Dawnstar could. Lyra steered the ship hard to the left, narrowly avoiding another deadly blast from the remnant. The enemy ship's weapons were disrupted by the storm's interference, giving them just enough time to slip through the edge of the nebula, into the relative safety of its shadows. "We've lost them," Enna said, her voice trembling with relief. "For now." But Lyra didn't feel victorious. The remnant would find them again. The storm wouldn't hide them forever, and even if they managed to escape, Earth's transcendence meant they could never truly be safe. Earth wasn't just a power. It was a force that reshaped the galaxy in its image. Lyra knew that no matter how far they ran, no matter how clever their tactics, they could never outrun their fate. "We can't keep running," Lyra said, her voice cold with determination. "The galaxy has to know what's coming. Earth's return is the beginning of the end. We need to take the fight to them, before it's too late." The crew exchanged uneasy looks, but Lyra's words rang true. The galaxy was on the brink of a new era, one in which humanity would no longer be the underdog. Earth had risen, and the galaxy had no idea how to stop them. The unthinkable weapon. The Dawnstar drifted through the tumultuous currents of the Solarius Nebula, its crew battered by the relentless radiation storms that threatened to tear their ship apart. Captain Lyra stood at the helm, her hands gripping the controls, her mind racing. They had escaped the remnant, for now. But the victory felt hollow. Earth's forces were relentless, and their power was unlike anything the galaxy had ever faced. The galaxy was on the precipice of a new era, and there was no going back. "We can't keep running," Lyra muttered to herself, her gaze fixed on the twisting maelstrom outside. "We can't outrun this." The nebula provided a temporary reprieve, but it was a fragile one. Lyra knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Earth had become an unstoppable force, and their transcendence made them more than just a military power. They were a new kind of threat. It wasn't just about weapons or fleets anymore. It was about control of the galaxy itself, and Earth was prepared to take it all. Anna, standing next to her, read her thoughts. "Captain, we've analyzed all the data we have on Earth's new fleet. Their ships are designed for total domination. The remnant alone is an entire class above anything we have. And their technology. It's beyond anything we can even begin to understand." Lyra nodded grimly. "I know, but we have to find a way to fight back. The remnant can't be the only thing they've got. Earth has been planning this for centuries, and they've kept their most dangerous weapons hidden from the galaxy. We have to find them before Earth can use them." A chill settled in the air as Lyra's words hung in the room. She wasn't just talking about fleets or weapons. They were talking about something far darker, something that could change the course of the galaxy forever. "Captain," Anna hesitated, her voice strained. "I found something. It's a legend, a piece of data buried deep in the archives. It's about a weapon, an ancient weapon, created by the humans before their fall. A weapon so powerful that it could destroy entire star systems with a single strike." Lyra turned sharply, her eyes narrowing. "What kind of weapon?" Anna swallowed hard. "It's called the Star Eater. The legend says it was a device built by Earth's top scientists, capable of collapsing a star into a singularity. A black hole. It was never used, never even finished before Earth was destroyed. But if it exists, it could wipe out entire fleets, whole star systems." Lyra's mind raced. A weapon capable of collapsing stars. If Earth had this, then everything in the galaxy was in danger. There would be no safe haven, no place to hide. Earth could wipe them all out with a thought. "Where is it?" Lyra demanded. "I don't know," Anna admitted. "The archives only mention it briefly. There's no location, no coordinates. It's as if they wanted to bury it, erase all traces of it." Lyra stared out at the swirling nebula, her thoughts churning. "If Earth has this weapon, it changes everything. We have to find it first, before they do." "We don't even know where to start," Anna said, her voice low. "We'll start with what we have," Lyra replied. "We have to find any trace of the Star Eater. No matter how small, no matter how hidden. This could be our only chance to fight back." The Dawn Star slowly veered away from the nebula's chaotic embrace, setting course for the closest known Earth research facility, a distant, seemingly inconspicuous planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. Lyra knew it was a long shot, but it was their best lead. They couldn't wait for the galaxy to come to them. They had to take the fight to Earth. Days later, the Dawn Star arrived at the planet, its surface covered by dense jungles and hidden beneath layers of fog. It was a remote, forgotten world, a place even the Galactic Council had lost track of. On the surface, it seemed harmless, but Lyra knew better. "Captain, the facility's here," Anna said, her voice shaky as the landing bay opened. The planet's surface looked tranquil, almost peaceful, but the tension in the air was palpable, thick with the threat of unknown dangers. They moved quickly, disembarking from the Dawn Star and making their way to the hidden entrance of the facility buried deep in the jungle. The trees loomed like giants, their shadows stretching long across the ground. As they approached the facility, Lyra felt the weight of history pressing down on them. This was the place where Earth's greatest minds had once toiled. And if they were lucky, it would be where the Star Eater was waiting. Inside, the facility was eerily silent. The walls were covered in vines, and the old machinery was coated in rust and decay. Yet there was an unmistakable air of something ancient, something deadly. "This is it," Lyra whispered, her hand resting on the door's panel. "This is where it all began." They descended deep into the facility, the air growing colder as they reached the lower levels. It felt like walking into the bowels of an ancient temple where forgotten gods slept, waiting to be awakened. And they were about to wake something that could change the universe. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the central chamber. The room was vast, its walls lined with strange, alien technology. In the center of the room stood a large cylindrical object, encased in a glowing energy field. "That's it," Anna breathed, staring in awe. The Star Eater. It was real. The device stood in front of them, ancient and glowing with an otherworldly energy. The weapon was not finished, but its sheer power was undeniable. It pulsed with energy, its core vibrating with an unstable force. They had found it. But just as Lyra stepped forward, a sharp noise echoed through the chamber. A voice, cold and metallic, filled the air. "You shouldn't have come here." Lyra froze, the words sending a wave of cold terror down her spine. The voice had a familiar cadence, a chilling echo of the voice she had heard from the remnant. And then the lights flickered. The chamber door slammed shut, and the Dawnstar's crew realized the truth too late. Earth had known they were coming. The weapon wasn't just a tool of destruction, it was a trap. The end of the Council's rule. The chamber was bathed in the eerie glow of the Star Eater's unstable core, its pulse like a heartbeat that echoed through the depths of the abandoned facility. Captain Lyra stood frozen, staring at the device, an ancient weapon of unimaginable power. They had found it, but they hadn't been alone. The voice from the darkness, cold and mechanical, had sealed their fate. "Who's there?" Lyra called out, her voice steady despite the rising panic in her chest. A shadow moved in the corner of the room, too swift to be caught clearly. A figure emerged from the dark recesses of the facility, a tall, cloaked individual whose features were hidden behind a mask that seemed to shift, ever-changing, like a reflection in a pool of water. "You shouldn't have come," the figure repeated, their voice mechanical, emotionless. The weapon was never meant to be found. It was a safeguard, a failsafe for the galaxy. But now it's a weapon of wrath. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as she instinctively reached for her blaster, but the figure stepped forward, their presence overwhelming. It was like they were a part of the very facility, as though their existence was entwined with the device itself. "You're not human," Anna whispered, her voice trembling. "You're something else." The figure nodded slowly, almost sorrowfully. "I was once human, yes, but now I am something more. A guardian, a protector of what remains of Earth's legacy. But I see what you've discovered. The Star Eater, humanity's last secret weapon. And now I cannot allow it to fall into the hands of those who do not understand." Lyra took a step forward, her gaze hardening. "You're telling me you can't stop Earth? That's what you're protecting?" The figure tilted their head, as if studying her. "Earth does not need stopping. It is already too late. Humanity's transcendence is complete. You are the ones who are out of time, out of purpose. The galaxy belongs to them now. The remnant is only the beginning. The power of the Star Eater is beyond your comprehension." Anna gasped. "The remnant? You mean to tell us Earth has already begun their conquest?" The figure didn't answer directly, but instead extended a gloved hand toward the Star Eater. As they did, the weapon began to hum, its energy field expanding as the core stabilized. The room was filled with a low, vibrating sound, a song of inevitability. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. The figure was right. Earth had already begun the conquest of the galaxy. The remnant was only the harbinger. They had all underestimated humanity's return, thinking them lost, forgotten. But in truth, Earth had spent centuries preparing. The galaxy's greatest power, the Council, the fleets, the alliances, was already obsolete. Humanity, ascended beyond what any species could imagine, had come back to claim the stars. The figure spoke again, its voice tinged with a sense of inevitability. The remnant will continue its mission, wiping away the remnants of your so-called peace. The Council's rule is already in its final days. You do not understand. The universe is no longer yours to protect. Lyra's heart raced. You think we'll just let Earth take over? You are free to try, the figure replied coldly. But your efforts will be in vain. Humanity's evolution has surpassed your fleets, your weapons, and your politics. You cannot stop the inevitable. Enna shook her head, taking a step back. But we can try. We can unite the galaxy. We can bring together those who haven't fallen to Earth's power. The figure's hollow eyes seemed to see straight through them. The galaxy will not stand in your way. The Rebirth Order already knows. The Watchers have seen the future. The question is not whether you can fight back. It is whether you should. Lyra didn't hesitate. We will fight back. I won't let Earth reshape the galaxy into something unrecognizable. I won't let them destroy everything we've built. The figure remained silent for a moment before nodding slowly. I cannot stop what's coming. But perhaps I can give you one chance. One last chance to fight. The Star Eater's power cannot be undone. But its purpose can be altered. It was built to destroy, yes, but in the hands of those who understand it, it can be used to disrupt the very fabric of Earth's dominance. Lyra's mind raced. What do you mean? How can we use it against them? The figure's voice softened, almost imperceptibly. You will need to destroy the heart of Earth's new empire. The remnant is only a piece of the puzzle. The true power lies at the center of Earth's transformed existence. There is a place where their minds, where their consciousness connects, where they control the stars themselves. If you can reach this place, if you can use the Star Eater to collapse the core of that existence, you can bring down the entire system. Lyra stepped forward, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Where is this place? How do we stop them? The figure turned and gestured toward a holographic display, the galaxy flickering to life before their eyes. The stars, the planets, the warships, everything was laid out in front of them, connected by faint lines that pulsed with light. The location is here, the figure said, pointing to a system far on the edge of known space. It's Earth's heart, their nexus. It's heavily guarded, but you will find a way. Use the Star Eater to disrupt their consciousness, to sever the connection between their mind and their machines. That will be your only chance. Lyra stared at the map, the path ahead now clear but impossibly dangerous. Earth's heart lay within reach, but so too did their wrath. She had one shot to save the galaxy, or watch as it was consumed by Earth's unyielding power. We'll do it, Lyra said, her voice unwavering. We'll stop them. The figure nodded slowly. Then you have one final lesson to learn. You cannot win this fight with strength alone. You must understand what it means to be human. In your desperation, you must remember the greatest strength of your kind, your will to survive, no matter the odds. The figure turned toward the Star Eater one last time, their body dissolving into shadow. Good luck, Captain. You will need it. As Lyra and Enna made their way back to the Dawn Star, the weight of what they had learned pressed down on them. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the future of every being in the galaxy. Earth's vengeance had begun, but it was not over yet. The final battle was about to begin.